everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Bottom Line. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. Our show is brought to you by Vuori. I have an unhealthy amount of joggers, but Vuori's performance joggers, they take the cake as the softest, most comfortable pants. Make sure to check out the description below for 20% off of your first purchase. On today's episode of The Bottom Line, we have our sports analysts, Brian Friend, Patrick Clark, and I guess myself today, here to discuss our composite power rankings. We're going to do a little flip here. It looks like Brian Friend is our host today.
Yes,
this was his idea. So yeah, I want you to kind of explain what's going on and lead the way today.
Sure. Yeah, this has evolved over the course of the season, and in the this iteration that we're talking about today, basically the Last Chance Qualifier ended. We had 40 male and 40 female athletes that were qualified for the games at that point. There have been a couple changes, which we've accounted for based on the drug results. But we reached out to a total of 6 analysts. So it was the 3 of us plus Tommy Marquez, Chad Schroeder, and Chase Ingram. Each analyst took a fairly small amount of time to rank the athletes 1 through 40. And then I put them all together into a spreadsheet, and we look for the outliers. So we'll have the averages that you guys will be able to see of where the men, which we're covering today, all finished. And then for each of us, we have an example of an athlete that we ranked higher than the average and lower than the average that we can kind of talk about as to why. But before we get to that, we really should explain what this is, because these are not necessarily our predictions for the games. I consider these almost soft predictions. So I saw the field and I kind of grouped athletes together based on first impressions relative to the now 40 men that were qualified. And I asked these other 5 to do the same thing. So maybe Lauren and PC, if you guys want to talk about what was one or two things that went through your mind as you were kind of quickly putting these lists together.
Well, since
PC, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, you better let me go. Thank you.
I want to steal from your answer.
Gotcha. Spoken like an analyst. So I base a lot of my rankings off of semifinals, and then I kind of weigh the semifinals. Like, obviously, there's some semifinals that were stronger than the others, and I just kind of base that off comparison of the field. And since it was a post Last Chance Qualifier pre-games, again, like Brian, like you said, we don't know. Obviously, once the workouts start being released, if they are released, a lot of these might change. But right now, this is my picks are based off of coming off Last Chance Qualifier, who were the top 40 male and females heading into the games based off of their semifinal performances.
I looked at a couple of different things. So first, what I did was I created a document. I then categorized who was a rookie and who was a veteran. So I kind of put that into consideration because obviously the games with 15 events, it's very different than these semifinals that only have, 5 events or online qualifiers. So then I looked at each athlete's ranking throughout the course of the year. If they were a games veteran, I looked at that, took that into consideration, like how do they fare at the games versus maybe an online competition. And then I also looked at whether the athlete was healthy and were they healthy the year prior, and kind of took like injury history into account as well. So we'll see if
you forgot your category of tattoos as well.
That did not play a part.
Well, I thought you said tattoos equals performance.
Equals performance. Not for this one.
Gotcha.
So it was everyone had their own little strategy of ways to come up with these lists, but everyone did put some thought into it. And so after all of the analysts had submitted their picks, we were able to see when there were some outliers, and in some cases, an athlete would be significantly lower for one person than the rest of us, or the other way around. So we'll start with the athletes that we ranked higher than the rest of the field did. And so we'll start with you, Lauren, since you put so much thought into this, as you just nicely explained. You have Andre Houdet ranked 9th, and the composite rank for Houdet amongst the rest of the analysts, including you, is 19th. Why were you so high on Houdet?
So my thought process was this with him specifically is with his top 3 finish at strength and depth, and also finishing 15th during his 2021 Rookie Games appearance. For him, I did honestly take a little gamble to break in the top 10. And I know we talk about how many or how stacked the men's field is, but I really think that it built a little bit of momentum. And now he's got his feet wet, already being at the CrossFit Games, getting 15th, that he might be able to scoot up the leaderboard and potentially get into that top 10.
Yeah, and we mentioned him as one of the candidates to potentially make a most improved this year, and that if he wants to do that, he needs to make exactly that kind of push. PC, for you, it was Dallin Pepper. You ranked him 6th, and his composite ranking came out to 14th. Why are you so high on Dallin, and why do you think he can finish that high inside the top 10?
I just think his frame, his body of work, I think he's built for the games. I think he's a type of athlete who, he's a larger athlete, but he moves like a smaller athlete. And he's taken he took a lot of data from last year in terms of, obviously he just missed making it to the games last year. And he just improved on everything that he was lacking in. And it showed this year. One prime example is his running. He's really worked really hard on his running this year. And it showed, especially on that, in the Knoxville, or what do you call it? The Mac Mile, where he finished really well. Very surprising for someone like him. But he's just moved so well. And I think he's the type of guy that's going to hold up over the course of 12 to 15 workouts over, 4 to 5 days of testing. And I think his age is actually going to help him out with that. And then, of course, just Matt Torres, his coach, is just really synced up with him. And I'm just really high. I think you always have that one rookie that kind of breaks through every year. And I think we kind of talked about this. Tommy actually picked him as Rookie of the Year. He did. But I think this is a guy who not only will have top 10 potential, but he's someone that could just push for podium throughout the whole weekend.
Okay, Brian, who do you have?
Yeah, so I actually, when I looked at all the rankings coming in, I realized that I had basically taken the most conservative picks relative to everyone else. So I had my higher outlier was Alexandre Caron, who I had at 19th, and the composite rank was 23rd. And I think that Alex is coming into his own. He'll be just a little bit further down there. I think he's coming into his own right now in his career, where he's has the confidence and the experience to potentially come and hang with most of the men at the games this year. I do think it's really difficult to move up in the men's field, so I only moved him up to 19th. He was in the mid-20s last season, but I think Caron amongst these Canadian men is starting to feel like he belongs, and that we're going to see that in his performance once games roll around.
PC, we both put him at 29th.
Yeah, he had a really good finish at Wodapalooza, and then he actually did pretty decently at the Atlas Games. But I just think, again, like what Brian said, it's a really tough field to move up in, and I don't really see much change. I mean, we have some heavy hitters in that top 20, and it's going to be really hard for him to break. As you can see, I mean, Brian just has him outside, just at 19th. So, and Brian, I mean, I'm really surprised by your conservative approach, actually.
Well, we'll see when I make final predictions. Maybe we'll have a couple wild cards thrown in the mix.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But those are the fun ones, because those are the ones we were high on. But in every case, we were also low on an athlete at some point. So back to Lauren. You ranked Willy Georges as 28th, and the composite rank projected him tied for 16th. Why are you low on Willy?
He has so many tattoos, Lauren.
Guys, that's not how I picked this. This is my first time. Be nice. There's always got to be a person that you're lowballing a little bit. I'm sorry, Willy. I know you had an impressive start to the season. You stood on top of the podium at strength and depth. And your performance, it all really relies on 2 things for me, though, is your ability to stay healthy and how he'll stack up against these other men once we get to Madison. I said that I took past injuries, history, that kind of stuff into consideration. And for him, it again was a gamble, just because I don't know what he's going to be like in Madison to see a healthy Willy.
And PC, you had Jonne Koski ranked 19th. His composite rank comes to 11th after he finished 6th place at the games last year. Why 19th for Koski?
I think I wrote about this in your piece. It's not anything against Koski. It's more about the strength of field. I'm expecting improvements from everyone in that top 20 from last year, moving up some. So for that to happen, someone has to step back. And Koski, who is a veteran, but he's a relatively young veteran, I believe he's 26 years old. I think he's one of those veterans that might start kind of be being pushed out as these young, more, not more talented, but these young athletes start coming in and start fighting for those positions. Athletes like Jason Hopper, athletes like Guy, Lazar, athletes like that, because for those guys to move into the top 10, that means someone has to step back. And, I almost look at it as a changing of the guard. Another thing I'm taking into consideration, and this is, and by all means, I don't know if this is true or not, is that right now, all indications is that there won't be an open swim event at the games this year. If that doesn't happen, that's a loss for Koski, because he normally does. He usually starts off the weekend, the games, with 100 points, easy, because he usually dominates swimming events. It's shown in his past. It's shown in games history. So if there's a lack of that, he's actually going to start. He's going to be starting the games behind, which is typically not what he's used to doing. So those 100 points, a good start to the weekend, usually carries him over, because as we've seen in the past, he's kind of died down as you've gotten into some of the strongman stuff, into some of the the weekend just keeps grinding and stuff like that. So it's nothing against Koski so much, but more about the games field and the games itself and the programming.
And then for me, I had Jeff Adler. I have him ranked 10th. His composite ranking comes to 6th. And Lauren actually placed him on the podium, which we're going to ask her about after I finish explaining why that's probably not going to happen. So here's the thing. Adler was super impressive, as Willy Georges was at the semifinal. But to move up into the top 10, and especially all the way up to 6th, you have to pick 4 guys from last year that you think he can beat over 15 events. And that's assuming that no one from 11 through 20 and no one that's a rookie is also going to be entering into that equation. So I think that Adler at the games this year is the best version of Adler that we will have seen yet. And it is still going to be difficult for him to make much headway. If he does move up to 10th, which I projected him, it's still an improvement of 3 spots, which is respectable, especially against the returning quality of this field. But I don't necessarily see a top 5 or 6 finish as a lot of the analysts did project here. Lauren, you have him 3rd. You're really high on Adler.
I am, and it's all because of what's in between his ears. His attitude right now is fire, and I think a lot of that plays into, obviously, your abilities play into it, but I think that your mindset and the attitude, knowing that you're going to win, has a huge effect, especially once you get to Madison and there's so many different things going on. There's all of these stressors, and how you handle taking a bad finish or maybe not having a workout that went your way. I think if he can continue to have that mindset that he's going to win and he smells blood in the water, that he might just be able to stand on the podium.
I agree with you, Lauren. I mean, I have him one pick behind you. So, he's someone I've been high on all year. It seems like all I do is talk about.
You're
guys.
high on a lot of people.
Yeah,
he also has a perfect track record of outperforming my prediction for him at every competition he's ever done that I've predicted him in. So we'll see.
Ooh, let's see that.
Last one before we go. PC, you see Saxon Panchik breaking onto the podium this year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the combination. I mean, he's obviously a top 10 athlete, but I think the combination of being with Proven and training with Tia, that has to do something for you. So you might want to call it the Tia effect in that one. But
and you're certainly in good company. Chad also projected him 3rd, and I know that there's going to be a lot of hype around Saxon this year, and it might be to his benefit having his brother there too. I know that's something they've been looking forward to for a really long time.
Yeah, Brian,
Brian, you're seeing a repeat of the podium?
Yeah, for now, I think those are still the guys to beat. I do. Including
Brian,
BKG at 4th.
Yeah, I have some questions for you, Brian, before we cut this short here. But were there any selections from any other analysts that kind of caught you by surprise?
Yeah, there are a few. Some of them are detailed in the article. It was fun to actually have some conversations with these guys. I mean, I think it was Chase who projected Sam Quant to finish inside the top 10, which I really kind of liked that pick. He also had Dallin Pepper in the bottom 10. So Chase had a little bit of variability there. Lauren was super high on Will Morad. She ranked him 16th. There was no one else who had him better than 27th. But that's kind of the nature of it, and the fun aspect of this is to get a little bit different takes from everybody.
Any surprising okay, let's talk about 2 athletes in particular. Ricky Garard and Roman Krennikov. Were you surprised by some of those selections, like where we picked?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it was you and Chase both had
Here, I'll
Roman
bring it back
outside
up.
the top 10. And I would have, I can understand, having most anywhere inside the top 10. I think that outside the top 10 is a little bit, I think if there is a guy who's going to upset the podium last year, he might even be in that conversation. I know I only have him 8th on this list. He's one of the guys that I'm looking at potentially moving up when predictions eventually do come out. And then Ricky, I feel like where he had landed is about where I'd expect, right around that cut line of 10th.
Love it, guys. This was fun.
That's a great job, Brian. Lauren, watch.
Wait, you forgot one thing, Brian.
Oh, what is that?
What
you got to end with?
Lauren, PC, in that order, what are your bottom lines?
My bottom line is it's a fierce ass men's field. Everybody watch out.
My bottom line is this is not a science. It's analytical and guesswork. So, no one's going to have a perfect bracket. Not even me. So, that's my bottom line. Brian, what's yours?
I think as far as the men are concerned, the bottom line is that there's a ton of opportunity here, but every single one of those guys is going to have to go earn it. And we'll come back again and do the women. For Lauren, Kalil, and PC, I'm Brian Friend. We'll see you guys next time on the bottom line.